Gibson here. Today we're going to be performing the heat and cold application checkoff video. So I'm going to start with my COEAT. So I'm going to check the orders and check the patient's allergies. I'm going to assess the patient and assemble the supplies. I'm going to wash my hands and don gloves. I'm going to identify myself and identify the patient using 2 identifiers. I'm going to provide for privacy and perform the procedure, and then I'm going to explain, educate, and evaluate. So since I'm going to be administering medication, I'm going to go ahead and say the patient's rights of a medication administration. So it's right drug, right dose, right patient, right route, right time, right documentation, and right to refuse. So first I'm just going to start a little bit by talking about the different kinds of heat and cold applications and kind of what they do and things like that. So with cold application, cold vasoconstricts. So it's used on new wounds to reduce inflammation and stop bleeding. The different types that you can use in order to bring a patient's temperature down if they have a fever, you can place them in a cool bath or use a cooling blanket for just thermoregulation. You could also use a cold ice pack, commercial or a cold wrap, things like that. When you're using cold applications, you want to use about 20-minute increments according to the hospital's policy, but that's usually the max that you can use a cold application. And you also want to make sure that you're checking your patient every 5 minutes with that. For heat application, the different types that you can use. So heat vasodilates, and it is usually used after cold application, and it promotes circulation for wound healing. So with heat, the different types that you can use, same for thermoregulation, you can place them in a warm bath or a warming blanket to bring up the patient's temperature. You could use a heating pad or a heating wrap. And with the heat as well, 20-minute increments, checking them every 5 minutes. With either one, if you have any kinds, like if you're using an aquathermal pad or things like that, you want to check your cords to make sure that they're all intact and functioning. So for my medication, the orders say ibuprofen 400 milligrams every 4 to 6 hours as needed for pain. So before administering the medication or applying that heat or cold, I'm going to check to make sure that the patient is not cognitively impaired, so that they're able to tell me kind of how they're feeling or things like that, give me the consent that I'm needing in order to perform these procedures. So for ibuprofen, I'm going to educate the patient on the fact that they can't exceed 1,200 milligrams a day. Some of the side effects would be headache, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and an adverse reaction would be GI bleeding. So I'm going to educate the patient that they could take the medicine with food or milk to help with GI symptoms. And I'm going to monitor their cardiac function while they're taking it, so their blood pressure and their pulse and things like that. So we're going to start with applying the cold application. I'm going to place the patient in a comfortable position. I'm going to elevate their foot, place a towel underneath them. I'm going to make sure that I place a barrier in between the cold and the patient's skin. Okay, so as I said, no longer than 20 minutes, and I'm going to come back every 5 minutes to check. So when I'm checking the patient, I want to check the temperature of their skin, the color, checking for any pallor, if it's molten. I want to make sure that they can feel the area that I've applied it to, checking their capillary refills, things like that, just making sure they're getting proper blood flow, and that the skin is intact, that it's not open. You don't want to apply heat or cold to an open wound like that. So after the 20 minutes is up, we will just remove it. I'm going to make sure to place the patient in a comfortable position. And then for heat, I just have a heating pad. Same thing, you want to apply a barrier, check it for every 5 minutes, no longer than 20 minutes. So when I'm checking with the heat application, I'm checking the temperature again as well, making sure that pick and fill, capillary refill, things like that. I want to also check to make sure that it's not overly red, it's not blistering, the patient doesn't complain of it being too hot and things like that. Heat and cold can both be moist or dry. With moist applications, it penetrates deeper than dry applications, so you just want to be mindful of that. So after I have finished, I'm going to position the patient comfortably and document my findings and the education that I gave my patient. Thanks.